There are sages of self-knowledge who live and function in this world as if they were sculptured images. Their organs of action function here, though the world does not produce the least disturbance in their consciousness. He who lives like space here, which is unaffected by the activity that goes on within it, is freed of all bondage and is liberated. So it's a bit like watching television, isn't it? You sit down, watch TV for an hour or so. The drama could be about the end of the world or something quite harrowing. At the end of the programme we switch it off and we get on with our lives, totally unaffected by it. But I suppose this isn't too different from how most of us are. Most of us feel that we don't really change. Our sense of ourself very rarely changes. So it's a shock when we look in the mirror and see grey hairs appearing. It's a shock when we start seeing wrinkles, or when the body puts on a lot of middle-aged weight and we get aches and pains associated with age, because we feel the same. We still feel like we're a kid inside and everything's changing round about us, and we've got to keep making the effort to be an adult, to be grown up. So even though we might adapt to circumstances and have a veneer of adulthood, we don't really feel any different inside, do we? Our sense of self remains the same. And what is that sense of self? What is that sense of self that feels the same? It feels that it's not going to die. Is it an illusion? Or is it something real? We might say it's an illusion because we didn't have it before we were born. We didn't have this sense of self before we were born. But it's not really aged, has it? And this self has got nothing to do with our personal circumstances. It's got nothing to do with how we operate in the world. We might operate as a mature adult. But the sense of self stays the same, doesn't it? This sense of self is shocked when it looks in the mirror and sees an old face, because it feels that's what it's supposed to identify with. And it has to make an effort to identify with that, and then make an effort to try and make it look in conformity with what it thinks it should look like, which is a losing battle. So we say we haven't got any memory of this self, but this self hasn't got memories. This self always is as it is. Perhaps this is the self of the sage of self-knowledge. Perhaps this is the self that we should actually be spending more time addressing, rather than worrying about what the body looks like. If we were really honest with ourselves, we wouldn't be too bothered about what the mirror shows us. That's only important if we're going for a job interview or we're trying to make a certain impression. But in the big scheme of things, this self, which has no memories and perhaps doesn't die, it's who we know. It's who we know we really are, isn't it? This is the self. This is who we know we are. But we try hard to pretend it's not who we are. We try hard to be somebody. to have memories, to have a future. But maybe this is the only self that matters, really. It's the only self that, I was going to say it's the only self that we have to worry about, but actually it's the self that we don't have to worry about. He who does not abandon his confirmed conviction in the existence of diversity is not abandoned by sorrow. In other words, when you're caught up with that image in the mirror, you're never going to be abandoned by sorrow. He who is happy with whatever dress is put on him, with whatever food he is fed, and with whatever resting place is offered to him, shines like an emperor. You don't even have to be happy about it. You're just not resisting it or resenting it. This is what happens. The real self is completely unaffected by it. The self that is perennially young. Your true self, this is who you are. Though he appears to live a conditioned life, he is really unconditioned, for inwardly he is free and void. That's you. That's you. That's how you feel. That's how you truly feel. Free and void. Void of memories, void of hopes of the future, void of the cycle of life and death. Though appearing to be active, he does not strive, but functions like one in deep sleep. In other words, you're completely unaffected by what's going on. There is really no difference between the ignorant and the wise, the knower of the truth, except that the latter is free from conditioned mind. What appears as the world to the conditioned mind is seen by the unconditioned as Brahman. So we can enjoy it. The unconditioned self can enjoy the game, just as you might enjoy a television drama, knowing that it has no real consequences in terms of our real self. Whatever appears to be here exists, perishes, and comes into being again. But you are that, O Ram, that has neither birth nor death. Once self-knowledge has arisen in you, this world appearance is powerless to make any impression in you, even as a burnt seed does not give rise to a plant. Such a one rests in the self, whether he is active or inactive. Only he in whom the craving for pleasure has utterly ceased experiences supreme peace, not one who has gained peace of mind by other means. So we've got a little go at the yogic thing, pranayama and all the rest of it, quiescence of mind. We're not interested in directly pursuing quiescence of mind, because that stops when your practice stops. So supreme peace comes about when we've stopped investing in that appearance in the mirror.